here's the question. Am I live? Isn't it fun when we don't know when things are working or not? Guess I'll just have to assume. Okay. Oh yeah. Alright. Looks like we're working. If you can hear and see me, thumbs up or a comment. Not that I can guarantee I can see those. Thank you, Facebook. Alright. Okay. So, over a week and a half ago, I changed the group settings for this Joyflu group, and I changed them from being a private group to a public group. And that was a week and a half ago, and I've been procrastinating doing a live since then, knowing that in doing so, making that change, that my lives are going to be a lot more visible, a lot more accessible to people in the past. So I'm just enjoying feeling into that new iteration for me. So this has been an awesome group. I think, like, I've had this group set up for ages, and then from August last year I've been a lot more consistent and committed to posting resources in here, doing my lives, and it's really been a great space for me to grow and develop and build my confidence in doing Facebook Lives. And I knew ultimately at some point I was going to expose myself and change the settings, and Facebook kind of put a little spanner in the works, saying that if I wanted to make this a public page, I had to do it sooner than later. Yeah, and so of course I've changed the settings, and just that slight one little setting brings up the good old fear stuff again around doing these lives. So here I am. Yeah, so it's cool. It's all just a natural evolution and feeling into the next stage and what that means. So yeah, so thank you to all my original beautiful Joyflu members for holding me in my practicing of my lives, and off we go. So now that Joyflu is public, God, it's like an IPO. I'm listed on the stock exchange. Just means just hopefully means there's greater reach, and in that hopefully there's more people that get to benefit from catching Joyflu. So yeah. Anyway, my first public live in the Joyflu group. So here we are, just feeling it all. Yeah, it's nice as well. Like, as much as it's like, it just feels good. It's a natural progression. Oi, shush. It's just Millie growling. Yeah. So I haven't been live for a bit. I don't think I'd been live even a week before I changed those settings. And so yeah, it's time to sort of jump on and say good day and check in, see how everyone's going. Shh. Anyway, so yeah, I guess like I know where the fear sort of stems from, and that is, of course, meow out. It's a good time for the dog to be growling and barking. Yeah, so I'm always so pleased when I do evolve and grow and step into that next stage. And each stage, it's like, yeah, I guess right now what I'm doing is I'm feeling the initial nerves that I had when I probably did my first few lives in this group. The nice thing is they're all sitting there, so you can go back and see what they looked like, and ultimately I was getting really comfortable with just jumping in whenever unprepared, and just speaking to whatever I was feeling. And of course, now that I've opened it up, it's like all the original nerves and everything is back in. However, the nice thing is that through just doing it, a few more of these, with the adjusted settings, I know my nervous system will calm down, and we'll all be good. So yeah. There's something else that I wanted to share, and that is so we've been in isolation, lockdown for a few weeks, and last week the Victorian government changed our restrictions, easing them slightly, not by much, but a little bit. And it was interesting because what I hadn't predicted, what I hadn't seen coming for myself, was I was actually devastated. The thought of catching up with people, and being social again outside of Zoom and Facebook chats and phone calls and whatnot, is that it just brought up all this anxiety and sadness, and totally unexpected. Didn't see it coming. Anyway, of course, sat with the feelings, and really got to get to know the part of myself that had actually really enjoyed the last 6-7 weeks, however long it's been, of not having a social schedule, which for me has been the first time in my adult life, of sort of not having lots of social things to do, coffee catch-ups, drinks with girls, dinners, brunches, trips to the country to visit family, and whatnot. And as much as I was missing, and still am, because I'm still in isolation, I'll talk to you in a minute about that, but ultimately, as much as I love all that, a big part of me absolutely thrived in this isolation period where I couldn't physically see people. I was definitely missing hugs, and I've spoken to that in terms of when I'm walking my dog wanting to hug strangers. That has passed, actually. That was obviously just a few week window of feeling that need physical contact. Yeah, and so I had anxiety, not massively. I had a little mild level of anxiety and sadness, that I was going to lose. This is good because I haven't really articulated it, but ultimately, hey Tamara, hey gorgeous, I'm doing all right. I'm doing good. I was just explaining that with the easing of isolation, that it's surprisingly took me by surprise. I actually didn't want the easing. The government had done me a freaking massive favor, by clearing out my social schedule, and in doing that I was able to use that time for some, I've been meditating more. I've never really had a frequent meditation practice, and allowing me to put into practice a lot of my self-connection practices that I would do intermittently. Although it still hasn't been easy. There's definitely been some tough elements of being in isolation, but it's just, I was reaping the benefits of that, connecting with myself deeper than probably what I ever have before, because there wasn't, yes, I've still been working heaps, probably more so than ever, but just that extra time in the mornings and the evenings to do these things that I do enjoy doing, but I don't always prioritize. Whereas I have been prioritizing them because there was the space to be able to do that. And so when the government eased restrictions and I was getting contacted by people saying, hey, let's catch up, I was just going, no. Like a real strong no. And a sadness, because it's like, oh no, if things go back to normal, then I could lose all of that. Not that I will, because I've realized how important it is to myself. And my reaction, the emotions, the feelings that came through, was so supportive to the fact that I do have to keep this up. It is so important to me. So yeah, it's been really interesting. And ultimately what was happening is that the government, by having these laws and making it illegal to catch up with people, is that they were doing me this insane favor so that I could have the space and the time to do these practices that were assisting myself so greatly. So yes, consequently, I've extended my social isolation time to no set date in particular. Yeah, different normal, I think. So that I can keep up with my practices and allow for the integration of the new learnings and discoveries that I've had with myself. And I guess where the fear was is that there's a beautiful question, and I think I've done it on a post in one of my Instagrams, and it's just a little reflection question. And the question is, and it's so poignant and relevant to this, but is, who am I in the absence of others? And of course what we've had is a beautiful duration of time, or not beautiful, depending on how it was for you, a time to discover ourselves in the absence of others. And for some of us it's not always pleasant. There's parts of myself that I had to sit with and get to know that weren't particularly pleasant, and also parts of myself that it's like, oh, okay, a big part of me doesn't need to be social, doesn't need to be catching up with people all of the time. And what's interesting is totally unconsciously, but what can happen, and for me this is my truth, is that when I'm with others I'll project myself a certain way. And I've had a beautiful, duration of time where I haven't had to project myself to others. Now, take that whichever way you want it, whether you want to say it's being inauthentic, it's being fake, it's wearing masks, whatever. Where this is coming from is totally unconscious, and it's coming from a place of not necessarily knowing who I am or what my needs and desires are, and so just slightly adjusting myself when I'm around other people, totally unconsciously, not even aware of the doing. And I guess what's happened is over these couple of months is I've been able to cultivate a bit more of who I am, what my needs are, what my desires, without having to sacrifice any of that, because there's no one to sacrifice that around, right? And so now is that it's like, okay, now that I've met that part of myself, integrate that part of myself, and then see how I am being then when I am around other people. And there's anxiety around that. It's like, I'm now more me, speaking more my truth where I'm at. How do I do that? And it's not so much how do I do that around people that I don't know, because that doesn't matter. But there's people that I have had lifelong friendships and relationships with that will be meeting the new me, however she looks. So as a result, I've extended my self-isolation time, just to allow for more of the integration of those discoveries, to continue up my self-connection practices, and to just gradually move back into the world, slowly, intentionally, and being as present with myself and compassionate with myself through that process. And it is, I guess, ultimately that's actually what this is all about. It's about going into interactions with other people with presence and intention to still be connected in myself, as opposed to switching in and viewing myself through other people's perspectives, which is where the pattern behavior is. And it's all very energetic, it's all very at a total unconscious level, so therefore that's why it's even trickier to manage. It's not like I go in and I pretend that I'm happy all the time, because I don't do that. But there's real little subtle energetic things that happen in the past when I've interacted with people that I've now become aware of and am looking to adjust accordingly. And like any change, we don't always get it right the first time. So that's been my last little bit. So playing with the ideas, and interestingly, it's funny because obviously I was talking about changing Joyflu to a public group and the exposure and the visibility that comes with that, and of course me deliberately extending my isolation period is also the exact same theme. Okay, just a slightly different angle on that. So look, I made it. I got through my first Joyflu public live. So thank you for listening. I hope some of that perhaps resonates with you. Check in, let me know where you're at. How are you going with the adjusted rules? Are you quickly running out and booking out your social calendar in advance like mine used to be? Or are you also taking a little bit of time and doing a go slow, back into the world? So thank you with heart and soul. Till next live, I'll see you then.